You sit down to write a song, but after a few bars, things stall. The chords feel clunky, there's no clear direction, and once again, the idea fades. Over time, this just leaves you with a folder full of half-finished riffs. This video shows you how to start your songwriting process with a simple, repeatable guitar hook, so your ideas have somewhere solid to begin. By the end, you'll know how to spark songs with intention and actually finish the ones that you start. Most guitarists start writing by picking notes. But what if this is the wrong move? There's actually something more foundational, and it can make or break your idea. Imagine you are sat down with your guitar, ready to write a song, but instead of noodling around and hoping something sticks, you try this. Tapping your foot and playing a muted note puts you in a different mindset. You're not worrying about how it sounds or about theory, you're focused on how it feels. You can also do a similar thing with a drum loop or programmed beat. This allows you to just experiment and find a groove. This gives your idea a heartbeat. When your idea has rhythm, it sounds intentional. Even a simple line feels confident. So before you write a single note, tap your foot and lock into a short rhythm loop. Once you find a groove you actually enjoy playing, the rest of the song has a solid foundation to build on. Now you've got a rhythm going, how do you avoid writing a hook that sounds aimless or random? What if you could shape the vibe before even picking the notes? If you've ever tried to build a hook or melody by instinct, this might be a familiar problem. Sometimes it works, but just as often the melody ends up feeling forgettable. That's because it lacks a clear shape. Have a listen to these next 3 melodic examples. They each use the same rhythm, but can you spot the difference between them? This is where choosing a contour for your hook comes in. This means deciding whether your melodic idea will rise, fall, or stay the same. It's a simple decision, but it gives you a sense of direction. If your line rises, it builds anticipation. There's movement and momentum. If it falls, it can sound thoughtful or resolved. If it stays mostly in one place, the rhythm becomes the star, and that can be powerful too. Melodic contour is the emotional shape of a hook. Before you even pick notes, choosing whether your line rises, falls or stays still gives it instant direction. The next problem is that even the best rhythmic idea can feel flat if the melody doesn't have contrast. So how do you make a short hook feel expressive without overcomplicating it? Rather than looking at the overall shape of the idea, we need to zoom in a bit. Listen to these 2 pairs of notes. How does each one make you feel? The first was a leap, moving from F up to D. Leaps are big jumps, generally more than a whole step or tone. They add drama, surprise and emotion. This quickly catches the ear of the listener. The problem with leaps is that too many in a row can sound chaotic. This is where you need some contrast with the second type of movement, steps. Steps are a half or whole step apart. These are often notes next to each other in a scale. They offer stability and predictability. But too many steps starts to feel like a hallway, all one level with no change in height. It becomes boring very quickly. So what you want to aim for is a balance of leaps and steps. The sweet spot is contrast, mostly smooth steps with the odd leap to add interest. That mix makes hooks feel expressive, even when they're simple. This contrast creates tension and release, even with just a few notes. The good news is you don't need to invent a melody out of thin air. What if the hook was already hiding in plain sight? Take a look at this next melodic example. Can you see something familiar? It's easy to feel stuck when you compose something from scratch, because it feels like guesswork. But when you start with a chord that you already know, everything changes. You don't have to focus on what notes to use, and if you've developed the rhythm, like we saw earlier, then you could concentrate on the shape and groove of your hook. Open chords are especially good for this. They're full of resonant tones. Pick through the strings slowly and you'll hear ideas start to emerge. Add a hammer-on or a pull-off, and suddenly it sounds like a riff. Don't worry about playing the correct notes. Just go with what works well within the shape that you are using. You don't need to write a melody from scratch. You can start with an open chord and pull out melodic fragments that already sound harmonically rich. You've got rhythm, shape, and a chord to work from. But how else can you pick notes without overthinking it? Take a look at this altered version of the melodic hook that I've been developing. What do you think has changed this time? If you want your hook to sound deliberate, then anchor it around chord notes. Pay particular attention to the root of the chord, in this case the A note. This is like your home base. Then mix in leaps and steps away from this in the direction that you're aiming for, whether that's up, down or sideways. Then fill in the gaps with other notes. You've got two options. One is to play around the chord note and see what sounds good. As long as you stay close to the anchor, then you won't go far wrong. But if you know even a basic scale fragment, you can use this to find extra notes. In the example, I did this by taking the first position of the A pentatonic minor scale and supplementing some of the A minor chord notes with notes from the scale. This gave the hook a deliberate shape and sound. Even without much theory knowledge, you can build a hook by targeting a few strong notes from the key or chord, then connecting them with nearby scale tones and small embellishments. Now that you know how to build a rhythmic and melodic hook from scratch using your guitar, what if you could match that hook with the perfect chords, without guessing, and unlock a full song in minutes? Watch this video next to discover a simple method to match any melody or riff to the right chords, so your songs finally sound complete and intentional.